When disaster strikes, people panic. They clear shelves. They stockpile anything they can grab. But here's the hard truth. Some of that food will betray you. It might look like a good deal now. It might even say long shelf life or survival. Approved. But when the power's out, the roads are closed, and your family's counting on that pantry, you'll wish you had chosen differently. Because not all food is survival food. Some items spoil faster than you think. Others destroy morale, wreck your health, or flat out become useless without electricity. And when everything falls apart, the last thing you need is regret sitting on your shelf. In this video, we're breaking down the 7 most misleading food items people buy for emergencies so you don't fall into the same trap. Because prepping isn't about looking ready. It's about actually staying alive. Don't wait for shelves to go empty. Subscribe now and stay 3 steps ahead while everyone else plays catch-up. Most people think they've got their food storage under control. Until reality hits. They fill their shelves with whatever looks long-lasting or cheap, never realizing that some of those so-called survival foods will do more harm than good. In the middle of a blackout or lockdown, the last thing you want is spoiled food, wasted space, or meals that drain your energy. That's why today we're exposing 7 food items you'll deeply regret buying when the next crisis hits, so you don't make the same dangerous mistakes. Number 1. Canned pasta and processed meals. Canned pasta seems like a no-brainer. It's cheap, already cooked, has a decent shelf life, and your kids might even like it. But in a real crisis, it's one of the worst mistakes you can make in your prepper pantry. Here's why. First, these meals are packed with sodium, not just a little, but dangerously high levels. In an emergency where clean water is limited and stress is already straining your body, the last thing you want is food that dehydrates you faster and raises your blood pressure. That harmless-looking can of spaghetti and meatballs? It could set you back more than it helps. Second, these foods are extremely bulky and low in actual nutritional value. They take up space but don't deliver long-term energy. In survival situations, your body needs high protein, fiber, and fat to stay functional. Processed pasta and tomato sauce provides mostly empty carbs. No real protein, no healthy fat, and no sustained energy. Let's talk about waste. Most of these meals come in large, awkwardly shaped cans. Once opened, they need to be eaten fast or refrigerated. But if the grid's down and there's no power, that means one opened can, spoiled leftovers, and a lot of waste. That's not just inefficient, it's dangerous when food is scarce. And here's the part most people forget. These meals are designed for convenience in a normal world. In a crisis, convenience means something completely different. You want compact, calorie-dense food that stores long, stacks easily, and fuels your body, not food that fills your gut and leaves you sluggish. Better alternatives? Freeze-dried meals with balanced macros, shelf-stable soups with lentils, beans, or split peas, dehydrated stews with real protein. These options weigh less, store flatter, and offer way more nutrition per inch of shelf space. Pro tip: before you buy anything, ask yourself, would I eat this cold? Would it still help me if I had no power or water? If the answer is no, it doesn't belong in your emergency stash. In a short-term storm, canned pasta might get you through the weekend. But in a real crisis, it could leave you tired, dehydrated, and hungry for something better. Number 2, protein bars and energy snacks. They're marketed as compact, nutritious, and perfect for emergencies, but protein bars are one of the most overhyped and disappointing preps you can stash. Let's start with the obvious: expiration. Most protein bars have a shelf life of 6 to 12 months, tops. And while that might be fine for day hikes or gym bags, it's a huge liability in long-term prepping. These bars quietly go stale, the texture hardens, and the nutrients degrade. Worse, some even grow rancid due to the oils inside, especially if stored in a warm or fluctuating environment. Now, the illusion of nutrition. These bars are called protein bars, but many of them are closer to glorified candy bars. Loaded with sugar, low-grade whey, and artificial ingredients, they give you a quick spike of energy followed by a crash, not exactly ideal when you're rationing calories and trying to stay focused under pressure. And then there's the morale factor. After the 3rd or 4th one, most people can't stand the taste. In a survival setting, food fatigue is real. Eating something overly sweet, chalky, or synthetic day after day kills appetite, drains morale, and can even lead to nutrient deficiencies if you're relying on them as a staple. They also fail at volume versus value. You're getting maybe 200-250 calories per bar, and in a real crisis, you'll need closer to 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day just to maintain strength. especially if you're moving, carrying gear, or dealing with stress. That's 8-10 bars per day. And guess what? That stash runs out fast. And here's what most people forget. Your digestive system changes under stress. Emergency situations slow digestion, increase acid levels, and disrupt gut balance. Artificial sweeteners, sugar alcohols, and processed soy, common in bars, can trigger nausea, bloating, or worse. Better options? Peanut butter packets or nut butters. Real fats, protein, and stable shelf life. DIY trail mix with nuts, seeds, and dried fruit, vacuum sealed. Compressed survival rations like Daytrex or SOS bars, boring but long-lasting and consistent. Pro tip: if you insist on bars, choose ones with less than 5 ingredients, no added sugar, and vacuum seal them yourself with oxygen absorbers. Don't be fooled by fancy packaging and big promises. In a true emergency, most protein bars won't energize you. They'll let you down when you need your strength the most. Number 3. White rice. White rice is a staple in almost every prepper's pantry. It's cheap, stores well, and fills your belly. Sounds like a win, right? Not quite. White rice is one of the most misunderstood survival foods, and if you're relying on it for long-term emergencies, you could be setting yourself up for a dangerous nutritional shortfall. Let's start with the shelf life myth. Yes, white rice can last up to 25-30 years if stored correctly, in mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets. But in reality, most people don't store it that way. They keep it in paper bags, old containers, or buckets without sealing. That leads to insect infestation, moisture damage, or worse, mold. And when rice goes bad, it's not obvious until it's already in the pot. But the bigger issue? White rice is nutritionally weak. It's basically pure carbohydrates with almost zero fiber, protein, or fat. You'll feel full temporarily, but that feeling fades fast. It spikes blood sugar, then leaves you sluggish, tired, and craving more. If you're relying on rice for daily calories during a prolonged crisis, you're going to hit energy crashes, digestive problems, and eventually, nutrient deficiencies. You'll lose strength, slow down, and become more vulnerable to illness. Here's another trap. White rice requires fuel and clean water to cook. In an emergency, those are premium resources. A single cup takes 2 cups of water and 15-20 minutes of boiling. That's a lot of fuel just to get a 1-week meal on the table. Now add this. Plain white rice is bland, and morale matters. Eating dry rice day after day destroys appetite. People stop eating, even when hungry, because the food is tasteless and repetitive. That's a problem when calories are limited and every bite counts. Better alternatives? Brown rice? No. It goes rancid in storage. Quinoa, lentils, split peas? Much better. These offer fiber, protein, and longer satisfaction. Oats. Cook. Faster, store well, and boost energy without spiking sugar. Pro tip: if you already have white rice, don't toss it, but use it smartly. Combine it with canned beans, add oil or ghee for fat, and store it correctly in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers. White rice may feel safe to stock, but in a real crisis, it can leave you weak, malnourished, and wasting critical resources. Number 4. Frozen foods. At first glance, frozen food feels like a smart prepping move. It's affordable, comes in bulk, and covers everything from meat to veggies to pre-cooked meals. But here's the brutal truth. In any real crisis, your freezer becomes a ticking time bomb. Let's start with the obvious. Frozen food is 100% power dependent. No electricity, no freezer. And if the grid goes down for more than 24 to 48 hours, everything inside turns from asset to liability. That ground beef, spoiled. Those frozen veggies, slush. Your backup meals, a soggy, unusable mess. Most people assume they'll just cook it all when the power goes. But in a real crisis, you may not have access to fuel, clean water, or even safe cooking conditions. And trying to cook through the freezer during chaos, it's a distraction you can't afford. Even worse, many preppers overload their freezers with expensive meats and bulk buys, thinking they've secured months of food. But unless you have a dedicated generator with a reliable fuel supply and maintenance plan, you're walking on thin ice, literally. Power outages are increasingly common during hurricanes, blizzards, wildfires, and civil unrest. And guess what always goes? First, that's right, the power grid. And it's not just about losing food, it's about creating a health hazard. Spoiled meat grows bacteria fast. Once power returns, many people wrongly assume their freezer contents are probably fine. But even a few hours of thawing can breed pathogens like Listeria, E. coli, or Salmonella, a nightmare when medical help is limited or unavailable. There's also the issue of space and accessibility. In a true emergency, you want to be able to grab your food, heat it, and eat it fast. Frozen items take time to thaw, require planning, and add stress when time and energy are already scarce. Better alternatives? Freeze-dried meals. No power needed. Long shelf life. Just add water. Canned meats and vegetables. Already cooked. Shelf-stable and easy to rotate. Dehydrated ingredients. Flexible, light, and reliable for months or years. Pro tip: if you do use your freezer, reserve it for short-term situations only, 2 weeks or less. Label everything with dates, keep an emergency thermometer inside, and never rely on it as your main food storage, because when the lights go out, your freezer could go from lifesaver to biohazard in less than a day. Number 5. Condensed milk and canned dairy. It sounds like a smart prep. Canned milk, shelf-stable dairy, something creamy and calorie-rich for your coffee, cereal, or baking needs. But condensed milk and other canned dairy products are often one of the most wasteful and risky food items you can rely on in a real crisis. Let's start with what people think they're getting. Condensed milk offers calories, a long shelf life, and versatility, right? But there's a catch. These cans are high-sugar, low-nutrition bombs that provide a quick energy spike followed by a hard crash. They don't offer real sustenance, and worse, they're terrible for your gut when eaten without proper hydration or other foods to balance the sugar overload. And despite what labels promise, most canned dairy doesn't last as long as people assume. Temperature swings destroy the quality fast. In warm or unstable environments like garages, basements, or sheds, the milk can curdle, separate, or spoil inside the sealed can, and you won't know it's gone bad until you open it or drink it. Even shelf-stable canned milk has limited rotation ability. Once opened, it must be used quickly. But in a grid-down scenario, with no refrigeration, you either have to use the whole can immediately or throw the rest away. That's a serious waste when resources are tight. Now consider the taste and smell. Spoiled condensed milk has a sharp, rancid odor and an oily, clumpy texture that's impossible to hide, even in coffee or food. It's a morale killer. Nothing destroys appetite faster than trying to choke down spoiled dairy. There's also a danger people overlook: botulism. Any dented, bulging, or rusted cans, especially dairy-based, become breeding grounds for deadly bacteria. Consuming contaminated canned milk can result in nausea, paralysis, or even death. In a real crisis, when hospitals are overrun or unreachable, a mistake like this can be fatal. So what's the better move? Powdered milk. Stores longer, lighter to carry, and you can make just what you need. Plant-based shelf-stable milks, like boxed almond or oat milk, longer shelf life, less spoilage risk. Canned coconut milk, rich in calories, fats, and more stable than dairy under heat. Pro tip: if you must stock condensed milk, store it in a controlled, cool space, and rotate your supply every 6 to 12 months. No exceptions. Label with dates, and inspect every can before opening. One mistake here isn't just gross, it can be life-threatening. Bottom line, condensed milk might work for baking during normal times, but in a survival situation, it's a risky luxury. And when you're trying to stay alive, luxuries don't belong in your pantry. Number 6. Sugary snacks and breakfast cereals. It's tempting to toss a few boxes of cereal or some comfort snacks into your emergency stash. They're familiar, lightweight, and shelf-stable, right? But sugary snacks and breakfast cereals are actually one of the worst things you can rely on when things go sideways. Let's break it down. First off, these items are pure empty calories. Most breakfast cereals, especially the ones marketed as whole grain or energy boosting, are loaded with sugar, processed carbs, and artificial flavors. They give you a quick energy spike followed by a crash, leaving you more tired, irritable, and hungry than before. In a crisis, that kind of roller coaster energy is not just unhelpful, it's dangerous. And don't be fooled by the expiration dates. Many cereals may seem like they last forever, but they're actually vulnerable to moisture, pests, and oxidation. Cardboard packaging does almost nothing to protect against humidity, and the cereal's oils can go rancid faster than you expect, especially in warm storage conditions. Then there's the morale factor. While sugary snacks might feel comforting, at first that comfort disappears quickly. After a few days, the taste becomes overwhelming. The body starts craving real nutrients, protein, fats, fiber, but all you've got are marshmallow bits and colored flakes. The result? Food fatigue. People stop eating, appetite drops, and when your calories count, that's a serious problem. Sugary snacks also offer zero versatility. You can't stretch them into meals. You can't barter them effectively, and they don't cook into anything meaningful. They're dead weight in a food crisis. And if you're prepping for kids, it's even worse. Sugar in high-stress environments spikes hyperactivity, mood swings, and irritability. That's not what you want when everyone's already on edge, stuck, indoors, and running on limited resources. Better alternatives? Oats. Inexpensive, easy to store, filling, and can be flavored in dozens of ways. Dried fruit plus nuts. Still sweet, but with fiber and real nutrition. Shelf-stable granola or muesli. Less sugar, more staying power. Pro tip: if you must keep cereal, vacuum seal it with oxygen absorbers and treat it as a morale snack, not a staple. Because in a real emergency, sugary cereal isn't food. It's a distraction, and one that could... Number 7. MREs. From unknown brands, MREs, meals ready to eat, are a favorite among preppers. Compact, calorie-dense, shelf-stable. They're designed for soldiers in the field, so they must be perfect for crisis prepping, right? Not always. In fact, buying the wrong MREs, especially from unknown or off-brand sellers, is one of the most common and costly prepping mistakes. Let's start with what most people don't realize. Not all MREs are created equal. There's a huge difference between military-grade rations and civilian knockoffs flooding the market online. Many of the MREs sold on discount websites, shady marketplaces, or even survival gear shops are low-quality repackaged meals with questionable shelf life, poor nutritional balance, and, most dangerously, unclear manufacturing origins. Some don't even list proper expiration dates. Others include foreign language labels, missing components, or improperly sealed pouches. In a true crisis, opening an MRE only to find spoiled contents, missing utensils, or a meal that tastes like rubber isn't just frustrating. It's dangerous. Food poisoning, indigestion, or allergic reactions are the last thing you want when medical help isn't guaranteed. Let's talk about nutrition. Cheap MREs are often high in preservatives and low in actual nutrition. They may clock in at 1,200 calories, but they're filled with soy fillers, hydrogenated oils, and refined carbs. They're heavy on bulk, light on usable energy. In a long-term emergency, that kind of food wears your body down instead of sustaining it. And here's another hidden trap: taste fatigue. If you're relying on budget MREs for a week or more, expect to suffer through bland sauces, repetitive textures, and meals that all start to taste the same. Morale matters, especially for older preppers or families. Eating something that feels like punishment makes survival harder. Storage is another risk. Unknown brands may use low-grade packaging that breaks down faster in heat, humidity, or fluctuating temperatures. A single pinhole in a pouch could let in bacteria, and you won't know until it's too late. Better choices? Trusted brands like XMRE, Sopaco, or Meal Kit Supply. Freeze-dried meals from Mountain House or Augustin Farms require water but better taste, plus shelf life. Homemade vacuum seal. In a crisis, mistakes become expensive fast. The wrong food choices don't just waste money or shelf space. They drain your energy, wreck morale, and leave you vulnerable when it matters most. That's why smart prepping isn't about buying the most. It's about buying the right. The flashy items, the sugary snacks, the discount deals, they all feel good now. But when the power goes out, the roads shut down, and your home becomes your fortress. That's when the truth shows, up on your plate. So look through your pantry, check those labels, test your stock. Because prepping isn't about fear, it's about control. And when everything around you falls apart, the choices you made before it started are the only thing keeping you ahead. If this breakdown helped you rethink your strategy, hit that like button. Subscribe for weekly prepping advice. Overlooked. Gear and food tips that actually work when nothing else will. Stay sharp, stay ready, stay 3 steps ahead.